note that there was everyone creating poster images from the most well-known to people who today you can barely find a reference to. But perhaps one of the more famous artists was actually J.C. Leyendecker, who was about 20 years Rockwell senior and a real hero of Norman Rockwell's. They knew each other in New Rochelle, New York, where Leyendecker had a mansion where he lived and worked. But this, I think, is very reflective of Leyendecker's work in general. You know, a strong central figure, or two in this case, and bold composition that emphasizes the outline, that kind of helps you read things very clearly, and of course the reference to the Boy Scout, and one of the Boy Scout mottos, certainly be prepared for anything. Another famous illustrator whose art appears on view in this gallery is actually Howard Chandler Christie. We think about Charles Dana Gibson, Gibson Girl. You know, really, I think in the ways that magazine imagery attracted people, the Christie Girl attracted attention to these posters. But he was an extremely prominent artist of the era. Rob, I wonder if you would want to comment on some of the historical aspects or image aspects in this room, symbolism.
Sure, yeah, there's a couple that we had picked out that illustrate a lot of the themes that in the posters, and I want to start out in this corner. This poster right here uses a phrase that was seen in public discourse pretty often in the first couple decades of the 20th century, this 100% Americanism. The first couple decades of the 20th century saw many, many immigrants coming to the United States. With the advent of things such as the assembly line, where you didn't need a whole lot of skill necessarily to use it, somebody who didn't even speak English could come here, find a job, and fit in pretty well, really. When World War I comes around and the U.S. enters, there's about 15% of the American population made up of immigrants at that time, and certainly many hundreds of thousands, even millions, from countries that the United States was fighting against. There's lots of Germans, lots of Austrians living especially around the Midwest. And it's not necessarily known whether they will get behind the United States or whether they'll, stay loyal to their home countries. And so with many posters, there's a few of them around here, they really present a direct challenge to the person reading them. They start out with a question. Must children die and mothers plead in vain? They're asking you a question, and in many cases, they're questions that only the most heartless person could say no to. There's a lot of pressure put on people by reading these. And immigrants, again, are a group that are really targeted. The neighborhoods where they would be, working class neighborhoods in particular, but immigrant neighborhoods specifically. You would have seen these posters all around there on street corners, outside of stores that they frequented. So it carries with it a bit of an implicit assumption that their loyalties may be suspect, they may need convincing. Even if that's not necessarily true, it was assumed that that might be the case.